Boom, 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 boom go the guns of the Imperial Guard. The rules you would expect to have here are here, mostly, and work exactly as you'd expect, mostly. First of all, we have the officers issuing orders. There are 6 orders to choose from. 5 of them were basically from the previous regimental orders for regular officers. One of them is a former prefectus order. That was an order issued by a commissar because at the end of 9th edition, the political officers can give orders and not just shoot people in the head to bypass all that paperwork of trial, sentence, and then execution for desertion. Efficiency. The one prefectus order is duty and honor, which allowed a unit to perform actions if it advanced or fell back or shot. Well, we're not seeing much in the way of actions being mentioned in 10th edition, so I think they're falling by the wayside. But the duty and honor order in 10th edition works more like 2 other prefectus orders combined. At all costs, which means a unit got objective secured, and if they already had it, as infantry squads did, each model counted as an extra soldier for controlling objectives. The other one it followed was show them steel, show them contempt, which added 1 to leadership and gave a 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. Well, now duty and honor increases the objective control and leadership of the models in the ordered unit. I think the reason this name was chosen instead of show them steel, show them contempt, or at all costs, is because duty and honor sounds cool, though I wouldn't have minded the other 2. The other 5 orders work much the same as in the last few editions and do pretty much what you'd expect. Move, move, move adds 3 inches of movement to your unit, so it's greatly toned down compared to 8th edition where you could have a unit move and advance after having already moved and advanced. There's fixed bayonets, which increases the weapon skill of your melee weapons by 1. Remember that weapon skill and ballistic skill are tied specifically to the weapons rather than the unit that's using them. We have take aim, which increases ballistic skill by 1 for the weapons ranged that you're going to be using, and I still think this is going to be the most powerful one. We still have first rank, fire, second rank, fire, which improves the attack characteristic of rapid fire weapons by 1. So that does include plasma guns. So if you thought that there was some reason not to take a plasma gun, there really isn't. You're going to want to be rapid firing that plasma gun. So this isn't just your regular lasguns and hotshot lasguns anymore. Oh boy, things are going to get hot. The way this order works with rapid fire weapons is essentially +1 shot. Between 12 inches and 24 inches, 1-shot lasgun is getting 2 shots, and at 12 inches or less, its rapid fire rule kicks in for another shot for a total of 3 shots. The plasma gun is the same. The gets hot rule is replaced with the hazardous rule, but it functions the same. If you overdo it, you will get burned, but now on supercharge mode, you gain a point of armor penetration, as well as strength and damage, making the risk all the more sweet. The next order is take cover, which improves the save of a unit by 1, essentially giving it the same as being in cover. However, this can stack with the benefits of cover, so a guard squad with a 5+ save in cover can get an additional +1 to their save, and now their save is the same as a battle sister or space marine in cover. And the final order is duty and honor, which I've already mentioned. The one regimental order that's missing is suppressing fire, which allowed you to shoot at an enemy unit, and if you scored a certain number of hits, that enemy unit was at -1 weapon skill and ballistic skill. I didn't use that one particularly often, because just having your own weapons do more damage is almost certainly better. It's important to note that these orders last from your command phase until your next command phase, where previously orders would work for one specific phase and then be gone. This changes more than you think. We have a good idea about Overwatch rules. It happens at the end of your opponent's movement phase, so a unit of Dark Eldar popping out of a transport will now face an intense volley of shots fired by rank, and 2 rounds of better combat with the order of fixed bayonets, 1 for your turn, 1 for the enemy turn. The orders keep working until your next command phase unless you fail a battle shock test for that unit. Then just as you can't use stratagems for that unit, you also can't be affected by the order, which is understandable. If you've lost cohesion in battle, you're not going to remember that one order and keep doing as you're meant to. Do think take aim will be the strongest, as I feel it was in 9th edition, because you get much greater utility out of it, but we will have to see what other bonuses are available from characters. The range of orders is 6 inches, as it technically is currently and was in 8th edition. Voxcasters may modify this, as it has done in the past, but for the Voxcaster rule we see on the Cadian Shock Troopers, it gives back a command point if you use a stratagem on that unit. Whether it also improves the range of orders probably be explained more when we see the rules for orders when they come out with the index cards. Some people who comment on this will probably say something along the lines of, well, we haven't seen the tank orders or the prefectus orders. But I think this is it. All the orders. No separate prefectus orders or tank orders. And this fits with the simplified rules we're getting for other armies. There will be specific units that can give orders based on keywords, so infantry command squads give orders to infantry, tank commanders give orders to tanks in their tank company, but I don't think there will be any more granularity than that, and probably not the 18 orders that we already see, especially since one of the prefectus orders, as was, is now baked into the regular orders. So I think these 6 that we're seeing here, that's all the orders we're going to get, at least until the codex comes out. But when that is, we'll get on to. Thinking of the orders not there, so the orders that would be missing are things like Always for the Emperor, that allows you to shoot after still advancing. Remaining Vigilant is now probably not particularly necessary, as this allowed a unit to shoot at an enemy unit being set up as reinforcements. But with the Overwatch stratagem, which everyone from every army will have access to, you can do it using that stratagem. And I've said show them steel, show them contempt, and at all costs have been baked into the new duty and honor. So that one that we're missing is get back in the fight, so a unit can shoot or charge in the turn it fell back. Lacking that is probably going to be quite noticeable for the Imperial Guard, as it was incredibly useful against combat armies. Though that is on the understanding that we lose the stratagem that lets us shoot into combat. That's probably what will remain in this detachment that we're going to look at. Life is cheap. The mechanized orders look much like the regimental orders, but were tweaked to be more specific to vehicles. Pound Them to Dust was all about having an increased number of shots with blast weapons. Full Throttle looks very much like Move, Move, Move. It added 2 inches to your next movement. Move, Move, Move adds 3 inches. The Kill on Sight order let you reroll hit rolls of 1. Well, Take Aim gives you +1 to hit, which is just better. Blitz Them was a combat-related one, very similar to Fix Bayonets. Shock and Awe gave a vehicle objective secured. Well, in 10th edition, all vehicles have an objective control score anyway, and the Duty and Honor order will increase that objective control score by 1. And finally, the last tank order was Pinning Fire, which, much like the one in the regimental orders list, is being removed. So I really don't think we'll see a whole new set of prefectus orders or mechanized orders. Just these 6 that are being shown up. I also think the splash orders of an order hitting a squad and being passed on to neighbouring squads in 6 inches will go. I think that is why the size of the Imperial Guard squads is doubling, and Games Workshop made a point of mentioning the increased size 3 times in the article, specifying that it would reach more models than before. But just like their odd boast that the Swarm Lord was amazing in combat, and the massive Tyranid Rupture Cannon was better than before, it's not. I'm glad we're not having Power Creep edition on edition, but I wish they wouldn't pretend that we are getting more when we're getting less. In much of 9th edition, the orders of Imperial Guard squad officers would go to one squad, and all of the squads in 6 inches of the target squad could receive the same order. So that meant that in a normal game, 3 or 4 squads would be getting the order, not just stopping at 20 soldiers. This also suggests that it would be more of a hassle to order artillery and heavy weapon squads, because you will likely need one officer to order 6 soldiers to fire their mortars or cannons better. Orders stop working if you fail Battle Shock, and the steps in the command phase seem to be that you do orders and benefits first, then Battle Shock, then scoring. So perhaps don't order units under half strength in case your order is wasted, so having bigger squads could be rather useful. The double-sized guard squads could basically act as a platoon in themselves with a platoon command squad. I don't think these will be combined together with one officer plus their attachés inside a guard squad, because that would make one squad of 25, which is like a platoon by itself. I think instead, platoon command squads will get the lone operative rule, and as long as they're within 6 inches of an infantry squad, they will be safe from harm, at least harm coming from more than 12 inches away. I expect Castellans will be like any other independent character and have to join a unit before the battle starts, as they're 1 soldier rather than 5 soldiers altogether. I think it'd be a good idea to have at least one of these double-sized infantry squads, because there is a stratagem, though for 2 command points, that allows you to bring a unit back at starting strength with all wounds remaining. It won't bring back any characters that were attached to the unit, but having an additional 20 guys turn up could be rather useful. And it can be used also on Rough Riders, so if they get wiped out before they can do massive impact charge damage, you can have another go at that. If your field ordnance batteries got wiped out before they could fire to full effect, roll on some more. The reserve options are almost limitless, as a lot of things have been given this regiment keyword. We are seeing the Battleline units get a bonus based on being on an objective, and I think this is a very good way of simulating troops doing their job right and being rewarded. This was trialled in 9th edition with Eldar Guardians, and Guardian Defenders got a bonus to their attacks if they were on an objective, and Guardian Storm Squads got a bonus if they attacked an enemy unit on an objective. Chaos Space Marines get to reroll wound rolls of 1, or reroll all failed wounds if they're attacking someone on an objective, and the Necron Warriors reanimate D6 wounds instead of D3 wounds. But if they're on an objective you control, they get D3 plus 3 wounds, amplifying their natural regenerative abilities. The Cadian Shock Troopers that have been shown off are relatively similar. At the end of their command phase, if this unit is in range of an objective marker that you control, that gets sticky objectives and you retain control of it, even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent takes it off you. Essentially, they are planting a flag and moving on, which is what you would expect Shock Troopers to do. The weapon focus for Games Workshop they've shown off is all about the tank, but I want to talk about the infantry squad weapons. It looks like, finally, grenade launchers are looking good and can do their job well. They get D3 shots, which is lower than their previous D6 shots, but they get the blast rule, which from what we can tell from practice games over at Warhammer Fest, is +1 shot for every 5 models in the enemy squad. So if they're targeting a large infantry squad, as they should be, that's quite a lot of shots. And at strength 4 rather than strength 3. Alternatively, you can have a strength 9 crack grenade. Now grenade launchers have the same strength as a melter gun, and get the same number of shots, but at twice the range? Is this the end of melter gun dominance? Are we going to see an equalization of all the weapons? No, probably not, because melter guns have twice the armor penetration in an edition where armor penetration is greatly reduced. And they can do more damage. I wouldn't say no to a grenade launcher, and my infantry squads that use them will be very happy to see the damage increase. There will still be 4 kinds of infantry squads as Battleline in the Imperial Guard, and they are the same as 9th edition. Cadian Shock Troops, Catachan Jungle Fighters, Death Korps of Krieg, and the classic infantry squads. I really hope the Catachan Jungle Fighters get a better deal and are good at combat with their big knives. They're a parody of muscle men like Rambo that do jungle fighting, as, their name suggests. And one of their characters is just Rambo, with the 5 letters of his name put in a bag, given a good shake, and then chucked out onto the table at random. The different regiments all together in the same army matches 9th edition, and as we expected it would, it carries over into 10th edition, where the regiments are not broken up, and you can merge them and use them as they wish. It's only been a few months since the Guard got a new codex, and I would have been surprised if there was any major changes between then and now in terms of the basic structure or the types of unit you can take. Looking back at the Baneblade, yes, I'm sure people will go, wow, look at the numbers on the big Baneblade cannon. Ho, those sure are some big numbers. But I don't have a Baneblade. But I do have a Chimera with a heavy stubber. And finally, that weapon is looking really worth the extra points. 3 shots at strength 4 is the same, but now with rapid fire 3, that is 6 shots at up to 18 inches. I mentioned in my Discord group, the link is in the description if you want to join, that I have a lot of cultists of various kinds. One of the most common weapons they use is the heavy stubber, so a cultist squad with a couple of them can really put out a lot of shots. Are cultists overpowered? Yes. I already said so in my video on tournament play that just did that popping lowercase I thing up in the corner. But getting back to the Imperial Guard and their tanks, a different tank, the Leman Russ. And the battle cannon has a high strength, but with vehicle toughness going up, I don't think it will change that much in its role. Its armor penetration is only -1, so a Space Marine is going to save on a 4+ or a 3+ in cover. So I don't think we'll be seeing a return to 5th edition, where a shot from this tank could wipe away a Chaos Chosen Squad. My Chaos Chosen Squad. I remember the pain vividly. It's been 5 editions and I still remember the pain. We haven't seen the other turret weapons, but I hope they are roughly equal, but specialising in what they should be doing. And the Nova Cannon, which is considered to be the weakest gun option, will have a great job in killing units in cover. I think the channel Mordian Glory does an annual video on the eradicated Nova Cannon. I don't mind shoutouts to other channels that talk about things I don't. I get comments and interactions for other channels. Proxy Hammer commented, and that channel is all about Eldar. I don't have that many Eldar players in my community, and I look forward to upsetting Proxy Hammer, but in a well-meaning, friendly way, when I release my upcoming video on how to win against Eldar. Just need to finish editing. So best wishes to them. I'm hoping to get a Leman Russ 3D printed soon. No, wait, not one of these. A very similar looking, legally distinct World War II style mainline battle tank, but with World War I sponsons on the side. A practice that was dropped in the interwar period because the guns were rarely used. If the tank was hit, then 2 more people died, and that was a lot more equipment and food needed for these 2 soldiers. But in the far future, apparently they're great. For infantry, it is rarely worth 3D printing similar models. You can't guarantee that they'll come out right. They do take a lot more time to do, and a 3D printer, you are swapping part of the money cost with time cost. You know, that thing that adults have very little of. So I'd only consider 3D printing with tanks and monsters, because I don't want to pay £40 for this one bit of hollow plastic, or its big brother that doesn't have an engine but looks to use Flintstone foot power. If you were to 3D print something that looked like a rhombus with a turret, and an M4 Sherman style footplate behind the turret, then you could give it an enclosed bottom. Or don't and save on the melty plastic liquid stuff. TM. You can't use 3D printed models in your local Games Workshops or a Warhammer World or a Games Workshop tournament, but from my community polls, it looks like not many of you go to that kind of tournament anyway. I'm not sponsored by a 3D printers or anything, but I'd like to be, in exchange for food money and put hair on my teeth. I'll explain that sometime. The detachment that the Imperial Guard get is what I expected. It is called Combined Regiment, and it is about using the different parts of the Imperial Guard as one. Tanks, infantry, and artillery all merged together. When the Codex comes out and gives more options for detachments, then we will see the focus more on these 3 branches as well as the elite stormtroopers. But, well, I hope you can wait again for a Codex because it's not coming out for at least another year. Stand firm, Guardsmen. The special rule the detachment gives is Born Soldiers, which grants lethal hits to range attacks as long as your unit remains stationary. Lethal hits means that you automatically wound if you roll a 6 to hit. This very much suits artillery, but otherwise it can be a trap that you don't move your units to take the fight to the enemy and take objectives from them because your plan becomes sitting still and hoping to roll a 6. I think this is one of the weaker detachment rules that has been shown up. If not for bolt guns getting flat 2 shots like I mentioned in my video on Chaos Space Marines in 10th edition, then a las gun would outclass them, and does outclass them when shooting at a tank. It doesn't matter how high the Chaos Knight's toughness is when I roll a 6 to hit with a las gun. The detachment rule is one of the weaker ones in 10th edition. The Tyranids can choose their special rule before the game based on the enemy they are fighting. Space Marines get 3 bonuses in the game, while Imperial Guard have to stand still and hope that they roll a 6. It's thematic, I'll accept that, and quite simple, which I like compared to the massive amount of rules that 9th edition had. I just don't think it's a very good rule. Another simplified rule is for the Necrons, the merging of reanimation protocol and living metal. So living metal isn't a rule anymore, but on a single model they regain D3 wounds. There is no longer the chance of regaining a bigger model like a destroyer when they're killed, but that was unlikely anyway as it required rolling a lot of 6s. Since the reanimation happens in the command phase, they can get a destroyer back on some wounds and infantry can recover multiple models with one wound. This happening only in the command phase makes it a lot simpler than having to do it after each enemy attacked, so the game speeds up, but it is weaker because there are fewer chances to recover your soldiers. This is rather a theme for 10th edition. Simpler, but weaker. And I'm okay with this. I just wish Games Workshop would stop suggesting everything is newer and better and amazing. We can see that it isn't that amazing, but if it flatters their ego, we will say it's great. Thank you for listening to a VTuber's ramblings on 40k, and if you want to hear more about the run-up to 10th edition, the models and the rules, I have a whole playlist on what you might have missed. Until you see me again, my darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k.